Recently, Irwin, the ultra-high-end grocery chain in Los Angeles, named a menu item after Jay Shetty, the Jay Shetty Love Potion Smoothie. Some of you might be like, Jay who? But this guy is a Hollywood superstar. I mean, getting a menu item named after you is one thing. Rubbing shoulders with the likes of Michelle Obama, Kim Kardashian, and Kobe Bryant is no small feat. This man officiated Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck's wedding and even got invited to the White House for an exclusive interview with President Biden. If that's not top-tier celebrity stuff, then I don't know what is. So the question is, why are we interested in him? Well, Jay Shetty, who currently has 14 million followers on Instagram and 6 million across his 2 YouTube channels, has 2 bestsellers, Think Like a Monk and 8 Rules of Love, rose to fame by portraying himself as a mental health expert, but not just any kind. His message was a nice blend of mental health and spiritual well-being, and people ate that stuff up. You should see how Jennifer Lopez was captivated by his speech when she first met him at the YouTube show Coach Conversations. Anyone would. This man often told the story of how he went from riches to rags when he dropped everything to become a monk in India. He described how he found peace after learning about selflessness, service, and kindness, and would have remained a monk if he wasn't advised to leave the monastery to spread the message. But it kind of turns out that Jay Shetty may have been living a lie. Recently, some journalists who were also enamored by him decided to dig deeper into his stories and some of his activities just to write a beautiful piece about the great Shetty, only to find out so many discrepancies. They discovered that the whole origin of his path to spirituality might be a lie, and to make things worse, his mental health certification school, where students paid thousands of dollars, might be a sham. Shocked that a former monk could lie, or should we say twist the truth, they reached out to him to clear things up. He responded quite all right, but his responses were filled with half-truths. At this point, y'all are probably like, spill it already. Okay, calm down, we're getting to it. But we do have to start from the beginning to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. In an interview with Ellen DeGeneres in 2019, Jay Shetty was asked, so you were a monk in India. First of all, why did you become a monk? As his per usual style, he proceeded to tell a captivating spiritual origin story. He shares that he was an 18-year-old first-year student at Cass Business School in London, when one of his friends invited him to a lecture at the school given by an ISKCON monk named Garangadas. Shetty told DeGeneres that he hadn't been interested in attending, but his friend promised they would go to the bar afterwards, and that motivated him. It changed my life. It was the most captivating presentation I had ever been to. He spoke about selflessness, service, and kindness, and it just got me hooked, Shetty told DeGeneres when describing the lecture. The mental health expert shared that all of his life he had been intrigued by people who'd gone from rags to riches, and for the first time in his life, he saw someone who'd intentionally done the opposite and found peace. So he decided to follow the monk back to the ashram, a monastic retreat in India, and spend his summers and holidays there studying ancient Hindu texts. But he needed more knowledge, so when he graduated from Cass, he moved into the Indian ashram full-time, renouncing worldly materials for a devout life as a monk. This is the story he shared, but this is what was discovered. The discrepancy started from the exact date of the life-changing lecture. To some news outlets, he was 18 when he attended the talk. To some, he was 21 or 22. On Shetty's own Genius website, it says he heard a monk speak for the first time when he was 21 years old. To get the exact date, an email was sent to Garangadas, the great monk in question, and he shared that the lecture at Cass Business School was held in 2007. With a little help from addition and subtraction, Shetty should have been around 19 when he attended the lecture. So why did he alter the dates? Regular human error? Maybe not. Shetty's monk origin story was precedent to his fame, and he needed it to be catchier to appeal to the right audience. So he tried to clean up anything that might taint the image. He also added more juicy bits for people who accept him as the spiritual guru he portrayed himself as. According to reports, Shetty had already been associated with monks before he met Garangadas. Chaitanya Lila, a member of ISKCON, who was in a romantic relationship with Shetty from June of 2000, 2008 to December 2009, said he was an ISKCON, the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, a movement that promotes spirituality, before 2007. Chaitanya shared a video from the summer of 2006 where members of ISKCON Pandava Sena (IPS) visited France. The video showed a young Shetty having discussions with monks in the white robes that denote monkhood in ISKCON. So, 2007 was not the first time Shetty met a monk. A November 2008 newsletter published by ISKCON also backed up the claim. Shetty had spoken about how revelatory the trip had been. When I retired, my view on KC, Krishna consciousness, the ISKCON religion, had completely changed and I had gone through a massive transformation. To make things more interesting, Shetty had been named the chair of IPS after the trip to France. In a YouTube video taken later in 2006, Shetty is seen participating in a chanting and dancing ritual led by Gauranga Das, the monk whom Shetty claimed he didn't meet until 2007. In a statement provided by Shetty's attorney regarding the lies and half-truths, they wrote that Shetty's 2007 meeting with Gauranga Das was Mr. Shetty's first meaningful meeting and engagement with a monk. Mr. Shetty has been attending his local ISKCON temple since he was a child. While Mr. Shetty came across monks at temples in his youth, those engagements were not memorable or meaningful in any way. But in reality, Shetty had scrapped his ISKCON origin mostly because of the organization's ugly past. In the US in the early 1960s, the ISKCON, or the Hare Krishna movement, grew due to the promotion of self-denial to achieve spirituality. Members were advised to stay away from drugs, alcohol, caffeine, and meat, and those who were seeking a high level of spirituality were ready to give it all up. There wasn't any problem with that. But in the 1980s, things turned ugly. In that period, the leaders were being described by some as abusive and cult-like. Men and women who were raised in that community said that they were assaulted and molested. Some members who dared speak against them were silenced forever, and it became a whole messy business. However, after years of cleaning up their image, ISKCONs regained people's trust. It was during this period that Shetty joined. You see, he had nothing to do with ISKCON's ugly past, but due to his goal of achieving a high level of fame, he couldn't risk giving full details about his association with the group. Another discrepancy is in his tales about his years of monkhood. In Shetty's stories, he repeatedly gave the impression that he lived as a monk for 3 years from 2010 to 2013 in a Hindu ashram in India. When I was 21 years old, I skipped my college graduation to join an ashram in a village near Mumbai. He wrote in 8 Rules of Love. He wrote something similar in the introduction of Think Like a Monk, making it seem he had spent 3 years in Mumbai before returning to England. 3 years after I moved to Mumbai, my teacher, Gauranga Das, told me he believed I would be of greater value and service if I left the ashram and shared what I'd learned with the world. But it had been revealed he'd only visited India occasionally and spent his time as a monk at Bhaktivedanta Manor, a sprawling Tudor estate in Watford, a town just outside of London. In a blog called The Essence, which the spiritual guru kept from 2010, he shared how he traveled across Europe and India, which was different from the life of quiet and solitude he portrayed when he started getting popular. The mental health expert had gone as far as sharing that he had found it difficult to re-assimilate into society after leaving the ashram in early 2013. That was the hardest point in my life. I feel like I experienced depression for the first time. I had forgotten how to do small talk. I didn't even know who the prime minister was. I didn't know who won the World Cup. I didn't know how to have a conversation that wasn't deep and meaningful. This is a man who spent more of his time in sweatpants than in a robe and was constantly hosting lectures and traveling. So not only did he lie that he was held up in some village in India, he painted a picture of struggling to adapt to societal norms. Some might argue that hiding some details or lying about where he served as a monk doesn't matter as long as he is passing the right message. Well, that might be true, but when someone tells little lies, what prevents them from telling even bigger lies? In Jay Shetty's case, his lies are more than outrageous. For someone who was intrigued by Gauranga Das' riches to rags story, Shetty had definitely not trotted that path as he found a way to go back to riches, and in a shady way at that. Let's start with his path to fame. Shetty's path to fame really started in 2016 when he left his consultant job and posted a video on his YouTube channel. It was some spiritual stuff and some propagation of ISKCON ways, but it initially didn't gain the attention he wanted. So he had his ISKCON fellows promote his videos until it got the attention of Ariana Huffington. He was asked to come work for HuffPost and he moved to New York. Barely a year later in 2017, he realized that he didn't need HuffPost to propagate his message. So he had branched out on his own and started releasing new videos on Facebook and YouTube. 2 years later, he had up to 2 million followers on Facebook. That would be impressive if his contents weren't plagiarized. In 2019, a video which showed that Shetty built his social media presence by stealing other people's content went viral. The claim would have been chalked up as a rumor if there was no evidence to back up that claim. In 2018, Shetty released a sensational YouTube video in which a blind woman dumped her boyfriend after receiving an eye transplant and discovered that her boyfriend is blind, only to find out that the boyfriend had donated his eyes to her. It was a great cautionary tale, only that it had been posted on Reddit 5 years before, and again on Facebook in 2017. And he made it seem like it was his original content. There are several others like that showing that the great monk had stepped on others' necks to achieve success. One other good example of his lies is the coaching school. Shetty has a coaching school, the Shetty Certification School, which charges about $7,400 a term for postgraduate diploma, level 7 qualifications. According to the school's brochure, it pays OTHM, a private exam certification company in the UK, to evaluate and certify its accreditation. It also claims that Ofqual, which controls all exams for schools in England, approves the qualification. However, Ofqual has debunked the claim. The organization said it does not regulate the school's accreditation and have promised to reach out to the school to have anything referring to them removed from their website. That's not all. The school's brochure also listed University of Derby, University of Buckingham, and Angela Ruskin University as places where students could progress to have top-up degree after getting a J. Shetty Certification School diploma. But the schools mentioned denied having any links to the school. Oops. It makes sense that his life coaching school is not properly accredited because Shetty doesn't have the proper credentials to be a mental health expert either. His only mental health knowledge is from the time he allegedly spent as a monk, a time filled with many discrepancies. There is so much to unpack about the so-called mental health guru. Everything that has been discussed points at the fact that he might not be the exemplary character he portrays himself as. Now the question is, does it discredit all the messages he has passed? Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and if you liked this video, make sure to click and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.